email making fun of Mr. Peters' deputy campaign manager. The email included a highly unflattering photo that can only be described as offensive. Mr. DeMaio offered ever-changing explanations for that email. First, he didn't want to discuss it. Then he claimed the email was fabricated. And now he has finally said it has been turned over to law enforcement. The entire episode is reminiscent of my own experiences with Mr. DeMaio. He has engaged in behavior unbecoming a public servant and has refused to take responsibility for his own conduct, blaming others instead. These are not the qualities I want in an elected official. And while Mr. Peters and I have had our disagreements on matters of policy, I know he will behave in a manner befitting a member of Congress and will not demean the office to which I hope he is reelected. I know this because he has served us well and honorably, doing his best to help people, making decisions based upon his best judgment, and he does it without all the insanity and chaos that seems to accompany Mr. DeMaio wherever he goes. And finally, my last message to the public is please, please go out and vote, and please do not vote for Mr. DeMaio. So if there's any questions or...
Donna, can you expand
Yes.
on your comment that he's engaged in behavior unbecoming of a public servant? What do you mean?
Okay, I don't know who's speaking.
Mark Walker.
Oh, hi, Mark.
Hi.
Sorry, I'm trying to hear you talk really softly.
Okay, can you expand on your comment that you engaged in behavior unbecoming of a public servant? What specifically do you mean by that?
I specifically mean that when you are an elected official, you have certain obligations. For example, you have an obligation to attend city council meetings. You have an obligation to listen to what the public has to say, and you have an obligation to treat them with courtesy and respect. Those behaviors are behaviors that Mr. DeMaio did not understand. I sat next to him at city council, and at almost every city council meeting, as soon as a member of the public would come up to speak, he would leave. He would just leave, and he would come back when it was his turn to speak. He'd make his speech, and then he would leave again. He regularly did not attend council meetings. He also, and I really had not planned to bring this up, when we would be sitting at city council, Mr. DeMaio was not really engaged in the public's business. He was engaged in his own business, on his computer, working on his campaign, working on things other than what I believe we were elected to do and the job that we were supposed to be performing. So those are a few examples. The homeless example at that particular meeting that I brought up, the speech he gave and the amount of false hope that he gave to these people who had showed up, who were homeless. They thought that they were actually going to have a winter shelter sited right there. And he knew it wasn't true. He knew we couldn't do it. And to abuse people like that, and to me it's a form of abuse, when people are very vulnerable and are counting on elected officials to have a place to live, to put a roof over their head, you know, for a couple of months. And you tell them things that you know are not true. I think that's cruel, and I think it is conduct unbecoming any elected official, or any human being for that matter.
Donna, as you know, Mr. DeMaio's been accused of rather egregious sexual misconduct and harassment. Now, obviously, you don't know the truth of those allegations. Only he and the young man making those allegations know the truth. But do those allegations strike you as consistent with the kind of behavior you saw up close, Carl DeMaio?
Here's what I know, and today I'm here to talk about what I know. What I know is that there have been reports that the FBI is still investigating this issue. what I know is that the district attorney has made a statement that said they are not filing charges at this time. What I know is that the investigation is ongoing, and what I believe is that there are others.
So you're suggesting, from what you know, those allegations are consistent with Mr. DeMaio's behavior or his potential behavior?
What I am saying is that what I believe is that there are other victims.
Why do you believe that, Donna?
I believe that because of what I've been through with Mr. Filner and what transpired over last year, what I believe is that victims are very, very frightened to speak. They're embarrassed, they're ashamed, they think it's their fault. They are concerned that they might not be able to get a job, that they might lose their job, that they will be shunned by the people for a variety of reasons, and they're scared to death. And so what I believe is that, again, based on the many, many women who I've spoken with, and based on others I've spoken with recently, that where there's smoke, there's fire.
Is that only a theme that you've spoken with other individuals in regard to Mr. DeMaio, his behavior?
I have not spoken with Mr. DeMaio since we had lunch after I was termed out of office, and I've spoken with him once since then. And that is my answer to your question.
But have you spoken with any other people that you believe may be victims of similar behavior?
I believe that there are other victims.
Let me ask you, let me take you back to 2009. Ben Waso came out of the men's room. Did he tell you he had just witnessed Carl masturbating?
I was not standing outside of the restroom when that situation occurred.
But you were on the dais and you spoke to Mr. Waso, who I just spoke to a few minutes ago. The two of you must have spoken.
Let me say this to answer your question in the most simple way possible. I have no reason to doubt Mr. Waso's story, and I believe what he said.
Donna, who asked you to come today?
Me asked me to come.
So you contacted Scott and not the other area?
Look, you know, I almost got to the end of the campaign, you know, the campaign season. I almost was able to extricate myself from this, but something happened that really, well, there's a lot of things that have happened that really annoyed me, but one of the things that really bothered me about this is I had talked to someone in a grocery store, and they had talked to me about the election and said, oh, and you worked with Mr. DeMaio, and, you know, he brings up your name. And that bothered me. It bothered me a lot, because I did not want to be involved in this campaign. It was not my idea. It was not my idea to do this. It was the idea that Mr. DeMaio thought it was okay to use my name, particularly after he has been accused of sexual harassment and gross abuse of power allegations, to use my name as an example of someone he works with, and to make the inference in any way, shape, or form that it is something that could happen in the future. That was something that happened once upon a time. It was short-lived. and the story did not end well. So I want to make sure, this is a close race. This is a very close race. I don't want to be responsible for Mr. DeMaio getting any votes by using my name, not one. I don't want him to get any votes by bringing me up. If he had just left me out of it, you probably wouldn't have seen me here today, but I'm done with it. Don't use my name, Mr. DeMaio, stop it. And if you want to use it, then please use some of the clips from this press conference and let people know how I feel and what I think of your behavior.
Donna?
Yes.
My reading of the DeMaio campaign seems to be that he thinks that Scott Peters should be removed from Congress because he took a car allowance that he was legally entitled to.
He took a car allowance?
Yeah. Is that, I mean, can you respond to that line of attack?
Well, it's sort of fantastic, bizarre thinking. So someone took a car allowance, so they should be removed from office. Well, then I would say that Mr. DeMaio, if that is true, what you just told me, that they believe, or he believes, people who take car allowances should be removed from office, then there's a couple of city council members who still take a car allowance that he probably wants to talk to as well, because apparently they too would be unfit to serve. So, yeah, that's just silly. That's just not worth the time. I mean, really? I'm sorry. I've been, you know, it's great because I've been away from politics for a long time, so I don't have to listen to this stuff every single day, and I'm grateful for that. I don't know what else to say about that. So if there's no more questions, I want to thank you all for coming. And again, I really, really want to get out the message to people to please go to the polls and vote. It's really, really important. We, and I include myself in that proverbial we, made a mistake, particularly me, when I supported Bob Feldman for mayor. I made a big mistake. And I hope that we have learned from that. So thank you. Is this right?